Hello, my name is Denise Hoban. The following video is a presentation of the Small Business Administration Buying Opportunity Tool. You are currently watching the Buying Opportunity Tool Excel file video tutorial. To assist agencies in meeting their goals, the Small Business Administration has developed the Prime Contracting Buying Opportunity Tool. The tool is a Microsoft Excel file that contains a large data set with a variety of pre-formatted pivot tables. The primary purpose of this video tutorial is to provide a review of the layout and explain what data is available in the file, to provide guidance on how to navigate within the file, to present what is available in the pre-formatted pivot tables, to show users how to perform ad hoc queries within the pivot tables. However, we will only briefly review how to use queries within the pivot tables, as we have published a separate video tutorial on how to create and use pivot tables. And last, we will discuss how to use the data provided within the tool in order to search for areas of potential small business growth opportunity. Now let's talk about the data. I will only provide a brief explanation of the data source for the tool and methodology and calculations used to project opportunity, as those elements are complex and will be explained in detail in the methodology and calculations video tutorial. The primary source for data used in the Buying Opportunity Tool is the Federal Procurement Data System Next Generation. This system is a single authoritative repository for federal prime contracting award data. Every year, the General Services Administration, or GSA, provides to SBA an extract of the final certified fiscal year data from the FPDS-NG system. The data provided in these extracts tie to the Small Business Goaling Report. Therefore, it only includes those contracts that are eligible for review for small business procurement. The data provided is then imported into a database where the methodology and calculations are programmed and executed in order to project the small business growth opportunity at the contracting office and NAICS code level. Additional SBA PCR assignment data is added to the data set, and then this pre-calculated opportunity subset of data is imported into our Microsoft Excel Buying Opportunity Tool. Please keep in mind, even though the original data grand total does tie to the Small Business Goaling Report, which is funded department based, the Opportunity Tool is based on contracting office. Also remember, this tool doesn't provide you with the answer. It provides you with a clue to answer the question, where may I look to find additional areas of small business growth opportunity? The data in this tool needs to be used in conjunction with the user's knowledge, experience, and reality. Now let's talk about the physical aspects of the Buying Opportunity Tool. The Buying Opportunity Tool Excel file is a very large document. It is approximately 85 megabytes. Therefore, you may have challenges if you are using an older or slower computer. Even if you have a robust computer, it may take a minute to open the file and save the file. Due to the number of the records in the Excel Raw Data tab, this file can only be opened using Microsoft Excel 2007 or greater. Also, Excel does have limitations on the number of unique data elements, and that would be columns and rows, and the data within the columns and rows, that can be queried in a pivot table at one time. If you try to pull too many items into your pivot table, your system could lock up. Also remember that as you utilize filters within the pivot tables, you may need to reset the print area before you send your document to the printer. Also remember to reset the filters after you use them so that you don't override the original version of the template that was provided to you. Now let's open the file. When you first open the Buying Opportunity Tool Excel file, the first thing you will need to do is a file save as to copy the spreadsheet to a network path on your own system. There are a couple of different ways to navigate through the workbook. You can either click along the tabs on the bottom of the worksheet, or if you go to column A in the Explanation of Workbook tab, there are a series of hyperlinks that you can click on to go directly to that tab. Now let's talk about what's included in the Excel file. First, I will talk about the general layout and then go into more detail on the data and the pivot table reports as we review them individually. There are 4 primary informational tabs: Explanation of Workbook, Glossary, What's New, and Frequently Asked Questions. Then we have the new Filters tab and the Raw Data tab, which is the data source for all of the pivot tables. With the exception of the last tab, which is the SBA Area Region List, everything to the right of the Raw Data tab will be a pivot table that links up to the Raw Data tab. Now let's take a closer look at the Explanation of Workbook tab. This tab provides a list of all the tabs that are in the workbook and provides a brief description of what that tab contains. It also provides some guidance as to what reports might help you analyze PCR workforce allocation or departments that have opportunity. For example, the Explanation of Workbook tab indicates that the Raw Data tab is the source file for all pivot tables in the workbook. A definition of all of the fields in the Raw Data tab can be found in the Glossary tab. The data in the Raw Data tab comes from the Small Business Goaling Report database that is updated and maintained by SBA personnel. Now let's take a look at the Glossary tab. The Glossary tab provides a brief description of the Raw Data tab source. Again, refer to the Methodologies and Calculations tutorial for more detailed information about that data. The Glossary tab provides examples of how the data in the pivot tables can be analyzed, such as department, agency, office, actual experience, and projected opportunity. Bottom line, the pivot tables will allow you to slice and dice the data from the Raw Data tab in many different ways. The Glossary also provides a definition of each of the columns in the Raw Data tab. For example, let's take a look at the Contracting ID field. This field is a concatenation or consolidation of the Contracting Department ID, Contracting Agency ID, and the Contracting Office ID, and is separated by hyphens. This is also referred to as the DAO, or Department Agency Office ID field. I'm going to skip over the Frequently Asked Questions tab for the time being, as it is pretty self-explanatory. Now within the Raw Data tab, we can see that our first few columns are the Contracting ID field, the Contracting Department ID, and the Contracting Department name. When we navigate back to the Glossary tab, we can see a definition of these fields. Let's continue to look at the Raw Data tab. The Raw Data tab is the core of everything that the Buying Opportunity tool is about. The Raw Data tab has over 140,000 rows and 60 columns of data. The FPDS-NG data in the Raw Data tab is summarized at the Contracting Office and NAICS level. Although the pivot tables are pre-formatted reports, you can also filter within the Raw Data tab to do analysis. Remember, the Raw Data tab includes all summarized data for all departments and SBA areas and regions. So it's not just your department, it's everything. You can use the filters in row 9 to limit the data in order to view only the data that you are personally interested in. We've also provided a subtotal line that automatically updates based on the filters that you've applied. I'm now going to scroll over to column AD to show you how those subtotals, or where those subtotals are at and how they work. The subtotals in row 1 are summarizing all of the visible data in the columns below. Notice the current column total in AG, the small business eligible dollars, is over $356 billion. Now let's apply a filter to see how that impacts the subtotal line. For our example, we will select only those records for NAICS code 221210. We will find the NAICS code column and click on the drop-down filter selection arrow. This drop-down list will reflect all of the NAICS codes that were used in our FPDS-NG data set. The first step in the filter process is to unselect every NAICS, as we only want to see 221210. Now there are two ways that you can find a NAICS. You can either use the vertical scroll button until you find it, or you can do a search for that specific NAICS. Let's do the search now. Now let's go back to our filter subtotals to see what has changed. Notice now that our small business eligible dollars have changed to approximately $214 million. After you have finished using the filter, don't forget to go back and remove it. If you forget how to do filters, simply roll your mouse over the cell in A6 for a helpful tip. Now let's look at each of the columns. The first 7 columns are based on the contracting data input by agencies into FPDS-NG. The CO sort field is a field I have added to simply allow for sorting of the contracting offices in the same order as they appear on the Small Business Goaling Report. If the agency is not in the top 24 CFO agencies, the department will have a default code, sort code of 99. The parent MACOM code, MACOM org name, subcom org name fields come from the acquisition data directly from the FPDS-NG system. The CO state, city, and county fields are determined by mapping the contracting ID code from the FPDS-NG award record to the department agency office codes that are reflected in the list of contracting offices report that can be found under the Worksite Link References section on the FPDS-NG website. The SBA area and region fields are derived by mapping the state code listed in the contracting office list to a corresponding state code in our SBA area and region report. Please note that the area and region fields in the Raw Data tab may be missing data if no state was listed in the FPDS-NG list of contracting offices. You can find the SBA state area and region mapping table in the last tab of the Opportunity tool. The next field is a PCR area. PCR area is assigned by the respective government contracting area director and indicates what SBA area is responsible for PCR coverage for that department agency office. For example, the Department of Homeland Security may have offices located across the globe. However, the PCR coverage is managed by PCR Area 2. The next field reflects the PCR that has been assigned to provide coverage for this office. Although the PCR assignment in the Buying Opportunity tool is based on a point in time, PCR coverage can change throughout the year. Please contact the appropriate government contracting area director if you need updated information on your PCR assignments. The PCR relationship field reflects level of support. This is also assigned by the respective government contracting area director. There are 3 levels of PCR support: resident, liaison, and on-call. Please refer to the glossary for more detailed definitions of what those categories actually mean. The next columns are NAICS code, NAICS description, NAICS sector, and NAICS sector description. These are all derived from the NAICS code that was recorded on the award in the FPDS-NG system. Missing NAICS codes are defaulted to 0. Next is our office, department, and government NAICS performance. These fields reflect the average NAICS small business percentage achieved during the fiscal year. The formula for that is the small business dollars divided by the small business actual eligible dollars for that office for that NAICS. This is where we begin to compare how a particular office is doing in comparison to their own department, and also comparing them to the rest of the government in regards to their small business achievement at the NAICS code level. The next 5 base quartile rate columns will be explained in more detail in the methodology and calculations video. A brief explanation is that the amount of opportunity that will be projected is based on the amount that is loaded in the base quartile rate column. Now, the base quartile rate can be derived 2 ways. If the department NAICS performance is greater than government-wide NAICS performance, then we use the amount reflected in the department NAICS performance field. Otherwise, we take the amount recorded in the government-wide NAICS performance field and subtract the amount in the department NAICS performance field. A new field, base rate method, has been added in FY13 that provides a description of what methodology was used. We know it is unrealistic to make 100% improvement right away. Therefore, we do not automatically use the entire amount of the base quartile rate to project opportunity. Instead, we use a stepped approach. The base quartile ranges reflected in columns AC, AD, and AE are derived from the base quartile rate. Base quartile 75% range 3 is 75% of the base quartile rate. We compare this rate to the office's actual NAICS achievement, office NAICS performance, in order to project opportunity. If an office's achievement is greater than base quartile 75% range 3, then we assume that this office is doing comparatively well and no additional opportunity is projected. The result is that the growth rate field will equal 0, and the quartile performance level field value will equal attained. Office NAICS FY actual SB percent is greater than range 3 or 75%. And opportunity will equal 0. Next, we will compare the base quartile 50% range 2, which is 50% of the base rate, to the office's actual NAICS achievement, office NAICS performance, in order to project opportunity. If an office's achievement is greater or equal to the base quartile 50% range 2, and is less than or equal to base quartile 75% range 3, then we assume that this office has minimal opportunity for improvement. Therefore, we only use 12.5% of the base quartile rate for our projected opportunity projections, as reflected in the growth rate field. Result: the growth rate field will be base quartile rate times 12.5%. And the quartile performance level field value will reflect minimum opportunity, office actual NAICS FY actual small business percent within range 3, which is greater than 50%, greater than equal to 50%, and less than equal to 75%. Our opportunity will equal 12.5% of the base rate times the small business eligible dollars. Anytime the office's achievement is less than the base quartile 50% range 2, we identify this office and NAICS as having a high opportunity for small business growth. Therefore, we use 25% of the base quartile rate for our opportunity projection, as reflected in the growth rate field. Result: the growth rate field will be base quartile rate times 25%, and the quartile performance level field will reflect high opportunity, office NAICS FY actual small business percent is less than range 2 or 50%. Our opportunity will equal 25% of base rate times small business eligible dollars. So now let's take a look at the action fields. This is simply going to be an award count, which is a count for each unique PID, reference PID, and mod record number. Then we have our small business actual eligible dollars. This is a summary of office and NAICS small business eligible dollars recorded on an award from the FPDS-NG system. The small business dollars will reflect the summary of office and NAICS small business eligible dollars, where the contracting officer's business size selection is equal to small business. Next is growth rate. This will be the rate used to project opportunity, and I pretty much discussed already how this is calculated. Quartile performance level is simply a written description of what range the office fell into and what calculation is used to project opportunity. The calculations for the small business opportunity column, projected improvement amount, calculations have already been described in this video as well. It is a reflection of the growth rate times the small business eligible dollars. The possible small business achievement column is the small business dollars plus the small business opportunity dollars column. Again, there are some exceptions to this calculation due to negative deobligation amounts. The next 15 columns can be used to analyze socioeconomic data. Please refer to the glossary tab for definitions/programming details. The socioeconomic data is broken down into 3 categories. 1. Small Business Goaling Award dollars. These are the Small Business Goaling Report results, plus the known changes needed for any future Small Business Goaling exclusions. 2. The Vendor Type Award dollars. This is based on the vendor flag recorded in FPDS-NG. And 3 is a summary of award dollars based on set-aside type. Next, the WSB or ED WSB NAICS code column is new. It flags the NAICS codes identified as eligible for the WSB EWDSB set-aside program. The next column is also new. Now, NAICS in sectors 4.2, 4.4, and 4.5 are not supposed to be used to classify government acquisitions for supplies. The applicable manufacturing NAICS code is supposed to be used. This column also identifies which offices have awards where no NAICS code is recorded in FPDS-NG. Okay, next we have the Small Business Opportunity Department Agency Office ranking of the top 300. This column reflects where the Department Agency Office ranks in comparison to all other federal offices in regards to the Small Business Opportunity dollars. 999 is the default if this office is not in the top 300 ranking. Small Business Achievement Department Agency Office ranking top 300. This column reflects where the Department Agency Office ranks in comparison to all other federal offices in regards to the small business dollars spent plus the projected opportunity dollars. This is the projection of where we feel the offices could potentially be. 999 again is the default if the office is not in the top 300 ranking. Another new column, top 300 NAICS Small Business Possible Achievement ranking. This column reflects where the NAICS code ranks in comparison to all other NAICS in regards to small business spend and opportunity dollars. Also for this, 999 is the rank if the NAICS code doesn't fall in the top 300 NAICS codes with achievement. All right, the last column, opportunity greater than 0. This column is simply to be used to be able to identify those records that have projected opportunity. Honestly, it just makes it easier to report from this field when you're looking at a lot of detail.
We just finished reviewing the Raw Data tab, which is the key to this entire tool. Please do not forget that when you are looking at this data, it contains all department data, all area and region data. You will need to use the filters to drill into your own specific data. Speaking of filters, there's a new and exciting enhancement in FY13. Next, we are going to look at the Filters tab.
So what's so great about this tab? You can click on any of the items in the available list to drill into that data. And it applies that filter to every pivot table in this tool. So let's walk through a few examples. For example, our first example, let's filter on the Department of Defense. Now let's look at the Department Agency Office tab to see the results of that filter. All of the data in this tab, pivot table, now reflects DoD data. Using this same DoD filter, let's drill into the data a little more. Let's say I want to take a look at Army, Air Force, and Navy records. I scroll to find the options and click on the first one. Now it may take a few seconds to recalculate the pivot tables. Then holding down the Control button, I'm going to select Army and Navy. Now let's go to the Department Agency Office Summary tab and review the results of this new filter. We can now see that we are only viewing Army, Navy, and Air Force records. Now for these records, let's look at the contracting offices located only in the state of California. We will go back to the Filters tab and select California. Now let's go back again to our Department Agency Office Summary tab and view our results. Now it's not immediately evident that we are only seeing California contracts because the field is not selected within our pivot table to view. You can either create your own pivot table view using the ad hoc pivot table report as your template. We'll discuss the ad hoc table a little bit more later. or you can click on the CO state code and it will be added automatically to your pivot table now. Word of caution though, remember to remove the field before you are done or you will modify the original template that was provided to you. So let's do another example. Let's say you want all pivot tables to reflect award data for SBA Government Contracting PCR Area 5. Let's go back to the filter tabs. Let's remove all of our previous filters by clicking on the red box, the red X in the box. Then select PCR Area 5. For this example, let's look at the tab PCR Area State Summary. Note it is only showing contracts under PCR Area 5. We can also go to the PCR Area PCR Assignment Summary tab and also see it is only reflecting data for Area 5. Okay, another example. Let's say the administrator plans to be in Denver, Colorado, and while she is there, she wants to meet with an agency, and she wants to answer the question, who should I visit? Let's go back to the Filter tab, clear our previous filters, and select Colorado from the Contracting Office State list. Then under the Contracting Office City list, select Denver. To see a list of all offices, click on the Department Agent Office Summary tab to see which offices are ranked in our top 300 based on actual spend plus actual opportunity. Click on the Top 300 DAO Possible Achievement tab. From this, you can see that the administrator has 3 possible site options. The Raw Data tab is not a pivot table. Therefore, the Filters tab will not work on it. However, you can still use the drop-down filters in row 9 in the Raw Data tab separately. So let's go back and clear out our filters and move on to the next step, reviewing the pivot tables. I will review the tabs very quickly as you can explore these on your own time. Let's start with the Department Summary tab and talk a little bit about the standard pivot table format. The title of the pivot table will explain what the report provides. Mouse over the Help comment cell to get additional tips such as sorting and filtering. Right mouse anywhere within the pivot table's data and select Field List to show the list of fields that you can include in your pivot table. Click the X in the right-hand corner of the pivot table field list box to close the field list. You can filter on a field if you can see the drop-down box in the field header. Again, please watch the pivot table tutorial for additional pivot table help. So the Department Summary tab provides a list of departments that have the highest Small Business Possible Achievement dollars. This is your small business spend plus your opportunity projection dollars. The second pivot table is the Department Agency Summary. This report provides a list of agencies that have the highest Small Business Possible Achievement dollars, small business spend plus small business opportunity. Third is the Department Agency Office Summary Report. And this report provides a list of offices that have the highest Small Business Possible Achievement dollars. NAICS Sector Summary. This report summarizes experience and opportunity data by NAICS sector. NAICS Summary. This report provides a list of NAICS that have the highest Small Business Possible Achievement. PCR Area State Summary. This report provides opportunity projections by PCR coverage area and contracting office state. PCR Area State Top 7 NAICS Sector. By PCR area and contracting office state, this report reflects the top 7 NAICS sectors based on total Small Business Possible Achievement dollars. Top 300 DAO Possible Achievement. This report provides a list of the top 300 department agency offices with the highest opportunity projections based on Small Business Possible Achievement. PCR Area PCR Assignment Summary. This report provides a summary of achievement and opportunity by PCR area and PCR. PCR Area PCR Assignment. Top 300. For the top 300 offices, based on possible small business possible achievement rank, this report provides the associated PCR area, PCR relation by office information. Top 300 by office and NAICS. For the top 300 offices, based on small business possible achievement rank, this report provides the associated PCR coverage area, PCR and PCR relationship by office information. It also only reflects the specific NAICS codes for that office that have projected opportunity. There are too many records to show everything, so we've limited it to only show those that have opportunity. This report also allows you to compare the small business percent to the government-wide percent and the department percent small business achievement for the NAICS averages. Top 300 including socioeconomic 8A. Top 300 department agency offices with the highest small business possible achievement ranking and the associated 8A program socioeconomic dollars. Now the next few pivot tables are going to be a similar format, and basically it's just an easy way to see the goaling data, the vendor type data, and the set-aside data for the program. The next one is top 300 including socioeconomic WOSB dollars. So again, similar report to the one prior, top 300 department agency offices with the highest possible small business achievement ranking and the associated WOSB socioeconomic dollars. Same thing on the next one, top 300 including socioeconomic hub zone. And the next one is the top 300 socioeconomic for service-disabled, veteran-owned small businesses. The next pivot table is going to be our ad hoc pivot table. We want you to use this table as you see fit. Drag and drop data within the pivot table to create your own analysis. Next is our PCR allocation worksheet. This is primarily my source spreadsheet that I use to give to the area directors for them to make their PCR assignments. So this is our PCR allocation spreadsheet. The next is a very detailed woman-owned small business analytical pivot table and analyzes the WOSB data in many different ways to include those NAICS codes that are eligible to have set-asides. Okay, the next one, major command. This report provides buying opportunity metrics at the department, agency, and major command level. The next one, major command NAICS. This report provides buying opportunity metrics at the department, agency, office, major command, office, and NAICS level. This next one, major command state. This report provides buying opportunity metrics at the department, agency, major command, and state level. Next is our SBA area region list, and this was simply that list that we used to crosswalk to the contracting officers list on FPDS-NG in order to correlate or link up, assign an SBA area to a contracting office. Okay, I'm going to go back for a second. I skipped over one of our brand new tabs, the State Summary tab. And what this tab does is it sorts by highest possible achievement dollars, or highest possible achievement dollars, by contracting office state, city, contracting department name, and contracting agency name. And this file will be very useful when doing outreach programs, determining where you want to go and who you want to go visit. I also need to go back and explain the What is New tab. And basically that is what it is. What is new? We've added several new data elements to our raw data tab. As well, we've also added several new tabs themselves, so pivot table tabs. So now let's go back to the Frequently Asked Questions tab to answer the question, who do I call if I have questions? Questions relating specifically to the Buying Opportunity tool The data and how to use it should be directed to Leo Sanchez, Deputy Director of SBA Government Contracting. SBA, or Small Business Procurement Policy personnel or external agencies, should contact Eileen Rubio, Small Business Goaling Manager. And any other technical support questions can be directed to me, Denise Hoban. So this concludes the Buying Opportunity Tool Excel file video tutorial. I hope you found this training useful. Next in this video series is a Buying Opportunity Tool methodology and calculations video tutorial. Thank you.